On show 480, Unlimited Supercharging is back. Apple's bid for Tesla, and truck drivers don't see EVs as good enough. Those stories, a ton more, on your Thursday edition of the show. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, in fact, wherever you are on planet Earth. Welcome to EV News Daily, Thursday, 23rd of May today. My name is Martyn Lee, and I go through every EV story. I try and save you time and the 20 minutes that you and I spend together each day. Well, hopefully, that's time well spent. Thank you to myev.com for helping make this show, as well as being the place in the USA which now so many people just think of first when it's about buying or selling or learning about EVs, myev.com. There's so much more to it as well, and one of those things we're talking about is third-party warranties. Over the next few weeks, I want to talk about more about that with EVs, because it's a question I get so much. And it all kind of ties in. I'll give you the details very soon on this podcast. Let's kick off with one of the stories that I mentioned at the top of the show then. Tesla is now, once again, bringing back free, unlimited supercharging as a way to sell some inventory cars after they upgraded the drivetrain. An inventory car, a car they've made, according to maybe a common spec, maybe a car that was ordered and then the person couldn't get finance, changed their mind. It's a car that Tesla have built but don't have a buyer for. Of course, you may know that very, very unlike most other automakers who make a ton of cars, make their dealers, their franchised dealers or their dealerships buy those cars off them. That counts as, right, they've got rid of the car, then the dealer, it sits on their lot, then they've got to sell it to a member of the public. Right, Tesla, very different, don't have a ton of inventory stock lying around, but they do have some. Now, Fred Electrek today is talking about why free unlimited supercharging has made a return. For a while, it was linked to the referral program, but they've since ended that program. The current program is 5,000 miles until the end of the month. If you are definitely going to buy a Tesla, by the way, make sure I don't have referral codes. Maybe I will one day. I don't, and I know people who I could use theirs, try and share the benefits. It's a bit of a can of worms, because for everybody who uses a referral code online, I equally see a bunch of criticism online about people profiting, especially people that have done really well out of it, but let's not go down that rabbit hole. So at the moment, though, if you use a referral code, you do get 5,000 free miles supercharging. Surely that's enough, but that only lasts until the end of the month. Might go back down to 1,000 then. Tesla is bringing back free unlimited supercharging as an incentive. Separate to the normal referral program. This only applies, though, to new inventory. Not used inventory, new inventory. Cars they have sitting around, but also, caveat, new inventory, Model S and X only, and only if it has the old drivetrain. So not the updated drivetrain, all the bits that, frankly, you would really want. How much do you really want free unlimited supercharging compared to what you get with the updated drivetrain? Significant updates as well. You always want the best technology, if you possibly can, to future-proof yourself. You know what? Unless you do a lot of driving, I don't think that's a deal worth going for. What they might end up having to do, if they've got this inventory around with the old, with a pre-upgrade, offer a bit of a discount on the car. They might have to suck it up and do that. Okay, let's talk about Amazon next. And I'm such a huge fan of Jeff Bezos and Amazon. At an all-hands staff meeting, this was back in March, right? The CEO of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, told employees that he's fascinated by recent developments in the auto industry, adding it was one of the main reasons why Amazon led a $700 million investment in electric vehicle startups Rivian back in February. This story coming to light now because CNBC obtained a recording of that all-hands meeting. Jeff Bezos' comments give a rare glimpse into his interest in the auto industry. Amazon entered in February through Rivian, but also in a tech startup that does self-driving. Now, this company is called Aurora, and they invested in autonomous technology, which could eventually, when you think about it, if you think about it all the way through, could help Amazon deliver faster, cheaper, automated deliveries. What are Amazon's big costs? You've probably got to say people, humans. You can start to join up the dots and work out why they're investing here in autonomy. According to a CNBC article today, I've got a quote from Jeff Bezos, by the way. He said this, and I quote, "If you think about the auto industry right now, there's so many things going on with Uberization. electrification, the connected car, so it's a fascinating industry. It's going to be something very interesting to watch and participate in, and I'm very excited about the whole industry. End quote. I'll pop a link to CNBC if you want to read more. So what about this story that's flying around about Apple buying Tesla all those years ago in 2013? It's long been rumoured that Apple plans to compete in the EV space in some way or another, or even the autonomous space in some way or another, ranging from supplying other car makers with underlying tech and software to even developing their own car. Like Dyson, the vacuum cleaner maker, doing their own thing. Apple have got plenty of cash, by the way, if they wanted to do anything, really. Last count, about 200 billion, yes, with a B, 200 billion in cash. Yeah, Apple can really do whatever they want. But they may have been eyeing up a very major acquisition a few years ago to boost their efforts, according to MacRumors.com today. Namely, Apple is said to have made a very serious bid for Tesla in 2013. They offered $240 per share, according to Craig Irwin. He's a senior analyst at the investment firm Roth Capital Partners. He said he has complete confidence in his sources and his information. He doesn't know if the bid reached the formal paperwork stage. Tesla had 114 million shares outstanding at the time of the offer, so that would have meant Apple's bid would have been around $27.4 billion. Just soak that up. $27.4 billion for Tesla back in the day in 2013, when it was a very, very different company to what it is now. The electric vehicle maker's shares are trading around $203 last time I looked, and that is well below Apple's reported bid all those years ago. So it's an interesting thing to throw around. It's all hypothetical, isn't it? But what state would Tesla be in now if Apple had bought it? Would Elon Musk have stayed on and joined the board of Apple and Tesla? Would he have just gone to, sold up? Good luck with the Model S and the X. Good luck with had the Model 3 been announced in 2013? I'm not enough of a Tesla fanboy to know. I should probably go and have a look. But was it even on the roadmap? It doesn't seem like Elon would have wanted to hand over control, but really, when you look at how much money is out there, and I said this before, when, not to rake over old ground, Elon's going private at 420, and everyone was up in arms of who could possibly afford that much money, who can afford billions. You know what? Plenty of people. Apple being one of those. If they had wanted to go ahead with the deal, it'd be very interesting to see what sort of shape Tesla would have been in. Would the Tesla name have survived? Would it be Apple Cars? All interesting stuff to think about. Hey, never say never. Let's move on. Continental has unveiled details of a smart heater system that will decide when to heat up the battery and when to heat up you, according to TU Auto today. The system is a bid to alleviate the issues with lithium-ion battery performance falling off a cliff when the temperatures dip below freezing. Yeah, I noticed that this year. We had a really harsh winter here in the UK. Plenty of mornings when the car was at minus figures. And our car definitely lost, I reckon, a third of the range. It is potentially, along with where to charge, how to charge, and what charge speed, the battery loss, the range loss, if you live somewhere with very cold winters, is something that is perhaps the thing that most new buyers aren't fully explained until they experience it. I think I'm right in saying that. The Continental idea, which has been explained what's going on at the moment at EVS, the 32nd Electric Vehicle Symposium, EVS 32, in Lyon. The system is going to monitor when the battery pack needs the heat more than you do, and it'll maintain a usable working range. What would you rather, wearing a coat or going further? The smart heater can either heat up the cabin or the battery pack when it's too cold for the battery to accept energy from recuperation, from regen braking. Yes, if the battery pack is really cold, you don't get as much. It's got to be mega cold, by the way, but you don't get much from regen, and then when you plug in, it's going to charge slowly. For that purpose, the smart heater will turn electricity into heat for its most appropriate use. It will decide whether you are warm enough and go, right, that's your lot, I'm heating up the battery pack. If you were a fan of Bjorn Nyland's videos, the ones that he makes in Norway, where they get, very, very cold winters. Sometimes when he sleeps in his car overnight and then goes to charge in the morning, the charge speed trickles into Teslas when they're at properly cold temperatures. And so he had made videos before where he goes out and does 20 minutes of flooring it and then full regen. And then flooring it, then full regen. Did he call it kangaroo driving or something? Anyway, and that gets enough heat into the battery that when you get back to the supercharger, you plug it in, you actually get some reasonable range. If you are listening somewhere right now where the sky is blue and the sun is out, I'm sure you never have to deal with problems like this. Hey, let's talk trucks. Trucking L. People don't want EVs. If you ask them in the trucking industry, manufacturers are rushing headlong into producing truck EVs. Ford investing $500 million in the startup Rivian. It plans to produce an EV pickup by the end of 21, according to the Globe and Mail, who took to the road to go to some truck rest stops and ask actual truckers what they think. A chap called Ori Parks, he's been travelling the continent and he's been driving heavy trucks for 47 years. They interviewed him. He's a resident of Saskatchewan and he has put 1.7 million kilometres on his current truck that he's driving, a diesel-powered Kenworth W900. Hauling loads of 18,000 kilograms across the prairie provinces of Canada. And he knows one thing for certain. He says he will never, ever buy an EV truck. Drivers say they don't believe that EVs could possibly produce enough power to even haul a big load and to go long distances. He says that when you need to refill the batteries, it would take you half a day to recharge it. And that's interesting. I'll pop a link to that story in the show notes. It goes on, they interview truckers. And this isn't to, obviously to cause friction, to cause division. I don't mean this to, poke at truckers at all. But if you drive a big semi-truck and it runs on diesel and that's your life and you've known that for 47 years, of course you're going to say, I'm never buying an EV truck. When it comes to trucking, it's about cost per mile and total cost of ownership. And if he can get a Tesla truck or any other truck that charges, not in half a day, my friend, but yes, they are 1 megawatt chargers, charges quickly, you can go very far. Yes, you can pull those loads. And you can do that at a fraction of the cost of diesel. He'll buy one tomorrow. So it's about education, isn't it? And it's about working with people, helping to educate them, helping to, people understand, even about EVs, right? I still get, when I'm charging, when I'm plugging in the car, I still get people walking up and being like, what's all this electric car about then? Some people just sort of stop and stare but never actually come and talk. But if anyone does ever talk to me, I'll always give them as much time as I've possibly got to explain to them about the various different types of car. We drive a small city car, but if they've pulled into a big luxury German car or something, I'll often say, well, hey, look, there's the Jaguar, there's the Audi Etron, there's the Mercedes EQC, there's obviously the Teslas, and there's more coming next year as well. So I do tailor my little spiel, my speech to the audience as well. And one of the most common questions is, how much does it cost? And, the answer is inevitably, well, this charger I'm on at the moment, it's totally free. Mr. Fully Charged himself, Robert Llewellyn, has been giving a keynote speech, and I couldn't get the audio from this keynote speech. I don't know whether it was being recorded, video, audio, but he has been calling on people to speak out against FUD, fear, uncertainty, doubt, FUD, FUD, and the people that spread it, FUDsters, all around EVs. He was speaking at Utility Week Live in Birmingham earlier this week. He said it was a total fabrication to suggest that vehicles are not ready for mass take-up. I got a quote here from Robert, and I can't find the audio in his own words, so I'll tell you what he said, and I'm sure I won't do it justice. And I quote, "An important point is 60% of UK households have somewhere off-road to park cars. Therefore, 60% of us could have an EV today with no trouble. All the reports you hear on the BBC, in the Daily Mail, on the radio, about them not being ready yet, they don't have the range. They are utter fabrication. It's incredibly easy to live with and use an electric car. In fact, that has become my job now, to try and undermine that constant flow of FUD, fear, uncertainty and doubt. The three easiest things to spread about any new technology. FUD was used to keep asbestos around. It was used about catalytic converters, about unleaded petrol, about smoking. It delays and delays and delays the change." End quote. Yeah, I mean, back in the day, like in the 40s, 50s, doctors would recommend cigarettes if you had a sore throat. Okay, a couple more stories. Let's talk Land Rover. Let's talk a new Discovery Sport. Land Rover has revealed their new Discovery Sport, available to order now. In the UK, £31,000, says Fleet News. The new platform that it's built on allows for 48-volt mild hybrid systems to be used in the new Land Rover Discoveries, and first launched on the Range Rover Evoque. What a mild hybrid system does is use the engine-mounted belts, by the way, and an integrated starter generator to harvest energy, which is normally lost during deceleration, regen. It stores it in a small battery, and then if the car is going below 11 miles an hour, the engine shuts off and the driver applies the brakes before redeploying any stored energy to assist the engine under acceleration to reduce fuel consumption. And then there's more efficient plug-in systems as well, plug-in hybrids that will join later in the year on the Discovery Sport. The mild hybrid system, the one that I've seen Toyota's PR people online going, our system isn't mild hybrid. It is the mildest of mild hybrids, because you have to put petrol in to make a mild hybrid even work. Just don't call it self-charging. Let's finish off with the Audi Etron. It's had another first drive by the famous website cars.com. What do they make of it? They say another hallmark of the competition of the Audi Etron, the Tesla, is that the Teslas has little to do with EV nature. What has in their nature, in the EV nature, is they improve and add features via wireless updates. An advantage to Teslas over the e-tron that remains broadly underestimated. The over-the-air updates that arrive, many people don't realise how important that is. The e-tron doesn't have this capability, says cars.com in their conclusion. In the real world, the e-tron's 0 to 60 time is 5.5 seconds. Let's face it, that's overkill for most normal people on public roads, yet the Model S is still quicker. The e-tron has very little in the way of the special screens that Tesla has. None of these surprise and delight features, the Easter eggs that Teslas have. It shouldn't matter, but to some customers, it definitely does, says cars.com. Ditto for styling. The Model X, says cars.com, is awkward from some angles, but it's distinctive, and its falcon wing doors are known to stop traffic. If anything, the I-Pace is the one that's dared to challenge the Model X on its own turf with distinctive styling and quicker acceleration. I'll put a full link to the article in the show notes if you want to read more. Really in-depth article, but once again, they address the issue of it being a Tesla killer and saying it's a very different car. Not better, not worse. Well, they do make judgment. A very different car. Just because it has a battery doesn't mean you can compare all EVs. Let's talk about this week's question of the week. It's a really interesting topic. Do you feel strongly about this? Do you care where your car is made? Does the location of production influence your buying decisions? Yes, no? Tell me why. Email me. hello@evnewsdaily.com. And you can leave a comment on YouTube and Facebook. And thanks as always to myev.com for setting our question of the week. I'll read out your answers on Sunday. Thank you to 212 patrons of the podcast whose generosity means I get to keep making this show every day. It's an honour to work for you every single day. I hope to entertain, I hope to inform certainly thousands of people every single day now. It's fantastic to see the podcast grow, both the podcast and also on the YouTube channel as well. It's just the audio, but it's amazing that people do listen to a podcast on YouTube. If you want to check out what Patreon's all about, it's patreon.com/evnewsdaily. If you want to get any of the previous shows, 479 of them, check out the blog, evnewsdaily.com. Holy moly, this is show 480. 20 to go and we'll be at 500 shows. Where's the last year and a half gone? If you want to get all the new shows, please hit subscribe. It's so important because it means you get those shows first and free and automatically every single day. Want to try and get back into the old routine? You know, I'm a creature of habit at heart. You know I like my routine. Try and get back into the routine of 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, midnight UK. That means that I know that maybe it's a little early, so to speak, as in that day's podcast is technically out before it's that day if you're in the US, but it does mean that if you're down under, if you're in Australia and New Zealand, that you do get the podcast at least on the day that we are talking about. It's hard. I know. But, we have got supporters all around the world. Certainly in the US, my premium partner Brad Crosby. I know that evpower.co.nz are in New Zealand, and OEM Audio. Here in the UK, Phil Roberts from Electric Future, my premium partner on the podcast. Everyone's in different time zones, but let's try and get back into the routine. That'd be super good. If you want to leave a little review or a star rating on iTunes, that'd be amazing. Catch up on the socials by searching EV News Daily. Have a wonderful day. I'll catch you tomorrow. And remember, there is no such thing as a self-charging hybrid.